So what we have here is the basic high voltage setup with the generator right there, 3.7 volt battery, probably down to 3.6 by now. Been using it a lot, but it'll still work. And this whole thing coming out of that high voltage generator is hooked up to two leads, a red and a black one, that come to this kind of odd looking device here. Essentially that's just a sheet of aluminum that's kind of held in support by some foam from below, and there are two copper wires, one on either side, and soldered to each copper wire is another wire, a very thin copper wire, and they're soldered approximately a 1/4 inch apart, an 1/8 inch, somewhere in there. So essentially what's going to happen is this high voltage comes down here to one plate, and the other part, polarity of the high voltage, comes to these wires on the top, and they will not jump across or spark because there's too many of these wires. It disperses the high voltage across all these thin wires, so there shouldn't be any sparks unless something comes between the wire and the plate that will help it gap that distance. And that's where there we go, the Americium 241 comes in, because those alpha particles will come off of that. They'll go through the air and hit the aluminum. On the way between this thin wire and the aluminum, it'll shorten the gap there, and by becoming just a conduit briefly, and it will cause a spark to occur. And this is somewhat how a Geiger counter works in general. This is a very crude Geiger counter, so to speak, but we'll see how it works here in a second. One of the reasons Americium 241 is used in smoke detectors is because it has a half-life of 432 years. And that means after 432 years, half of it would have been broken down, leaving half of it still emitting alpha particles. After another 432 years, half of the half will have been broken down, so you're left with 1/4 of what the whole was. The point is that it lasts a long time. Yeah, that's the point. Okay, so I had to make a couple changes here. I had to switch the 3.7 volt battery to 2 AA's, which makes 3 volts, because the sparks that occurred along here were occurring with every possible hit from every ion or whatever it was. It was sparking all over the place, even without the radioactive piece here. So I had to lower the voltage so those sparks wouldn't gap so easily, to see the effect of those alpha particles better. So I'm going to go ahead and connect this. All right, and we'll focus in a little bit more on that right there. And here we go. Immediately that the alpha particles are causing this thing to spark up. Pretty amazing.